welcome to the Rocci tree. I am in our studio this morning, so this is the basement of our studio. Yes, so I just thought, just because not all of you know me and know my sort of where I am and what I do. So I'm Rocci. I'm the creator and owner of the Rocci Tree, which is a yoga studio based in Linslade, Bedfordshire. I'm the course leader for our yoga teacher training course. I have over 6,000 hours worth of teaching experience, and I teach everybody from pregnancy all the way through to, I've got a couple of ladies who are 80-plus-year-old who come to my class. So I cover a wide range of people, of bodies, and different ways of teaching them. I've invited Mary along this morning. So Mary is our newly qualified Metta Yoga teacher. So she qualified in March, just before we got locked down. We managed to get that course in. So I've just invited Mary here that we'll have like a question and answer session right at the end. And I thought having Mary here she might be able to answer questions from a different point of view. So this is Mary. So she will be, so there'll be questions and answers at the end. I'm going to mute you guys now just because, maybe this is Lindsay. I'm going to mute you guys just because I know from experience of teaching classes, we sometimes have children and animals and noises coming on. Good morning, are you Lindsay?
I am, hello.
Hi, sorry, I wasn't sure whether you got the email, so I thought I'd just quickly send you that message, so I'm glad that got through.
Got it, thank you.
Lovely. So I was just saying, I've just sort of introduced myself. I'm Rocci. I'm the creator and owner of the Rocci Tree. I'm just going to mute you guys and say, just because I say can be lots of noise in different rooms, and obviously the camera sort of tends to go to each room. But do feel free. There's a thing that somebody had showed me the other day that you can put your hand up. I think if you go to the three dots on the side, you can put your hand up if you want to ask a question, or do feel free to write comments or questions in the chat box as well. Yeah, there we go, Mary, well done.
Maybe clap. I didn't know how to do my hand up.
Cool. So, do feel free to, get in touch or ask me any questions along the way. But as I say, there will be sort of a space at the end to be able to answer any questions. So, see how you go, to say right along if you want to. So, the reason that I came up with this course is that I love to share my knowledge and my love of yoga. And I would like you to have that knowledge and have that love. And so you can in turn share that with others. I know that a lot of people come to yoga teacher training without believing that they will ever teach. I certainly did. In my last career, I actively avoided trying to stand up in front of people and talk to them. But when you've got a passion about something, I think it's completely different. It's so much easier to be able to share that information and that knowledge. So this course is designed so that what you learn, you will want to share. And that's all that a teacher is, really. Someone who shares their love and knowledge for a subject. And that can be with your family, your friends. It can be with one-to-one sessions. It could be teaching 30 people in class or on Zoom, as we have recently learned how to do, which is a whole new different ball game, but it seems to be working. People seem to like it. So my background is that I first started practicing yoga when I was about 18 with my mum with a video in my front room. And I absolutely loved it, but then didn't kind of go to a class or stuff because there just wasn't that many classes around at the time. But when I started working at English National Opera, we were working crazy hours and crazy shifts. Sometimes we'd work up to 80 hours in a week. But if we worked a 15-hour day, we were given a 3-hour break in between, because we had to be there for the rehearsal in the morning and we had to be there for the show in the evening. So the only time we could have our break was 3 hours together in the afternoon. So we found that there was a lovely yoga class in the centre of Covent Garden. So we used to go in between rehearsals and shows, and it made such a difference to how I coped with the 15-hour day, and also how I coped with the stress of theatre work. You know, it changes constantly. There's never a day that's the same. And then when I moved from Covent Garden to Rickmansworth, I found a lovely teacher called Kathy. And I used to hang around at the end of class and help her tidy up and ask her lots of questions. And she suggested to me doing teacher training. And as I say, at the time, I was a bit like, well, I'd love to deepen my knowledge of yoga, but I'm not sure I'm ready for the teacher training part of it. So she recommended that I join a lady called Ruth White. Ruth White offered a 500-hour yoga course, which there's not many 500-hour courses, for good reason. They take up a lot of time and a lot of money. But I signed up for that. She is a Iyengar-based teacher. She was a senior Iyengar teacher for quite a while. And what she offered was her teacher training was all on day or weekend retreats. Now, because of the hours I worked, because I had young children at home, I couldn't commit to what a lot of yoga studios do, that they sort of say you have to train 1 month every year. 1 weekend every month. And if you miss that month, basically you can't finish the course, which for me, just didn't work, because if I had a show on, I couldn't have taken that weekend off. And I have not, or the other option that is usually available to you is monthly intensives. And again, for me, that didn't work around my family and my work. So I'm hoping that what I've come up with is kind of a good combination, because there's very few teacher trainings that are offered in this kind of version. Is that there's 2 options, and I'll talk you through those in a minute. That's a combination of retreats and 1 Sunday sessions. So as I say, I'll give you more information about that in a second. So yeah, the flexibility of training on day or weekend retreats really suited me, but I've not seen this way of training anywhere. So this is the course that I've created to offer you that flexibility. So I will do my screen share thing that hopefully will work now. So, I've just got to move you guys to the side so I can see what I'm doing. Love. So, option 1. This, you would train with a mix of retreats, and these retreats take place around the country. So I, obviously with the situation as we are at the minute, I've had to rearrange a lot of the retreats. So we have booked a retreat to start in September, which is a place called Devora, which I did a lot of my teacher training in, and it's beautiful. But I have, if that doesn't happen, I have arranged to have this studio for that whole weekend. And if we're not allowed to meet in person, then we will do it online. So fingers crossed, the Saturday one way or another will happen. But yeah, option 1 is a mix of retreats and blocks of 6 Sunday sessions that take place in our studio. So basically, you'll do 1 module on retreat, and then the next module will be a block of 6 Sundays. The Sundays run from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. and the retreats run from 10 a.m. on a Friday to 5 p.m. on a Sunday, except this first one in September, which is open from 5 p.m. on the Thursday, but the training won't start until the Friday morning, but it's about 2.5 hours away. So I thought if we, just to give you a break, if you can get there on the Thursday evening, then you can have a full night's sleep before we start the training, rather than trying to travel up on the Friday morning. The prices are all there. So if you chose this option, your completion date would be July 2021. I can send you, well, we'll send you the video of this anyway, so you've got more details. So option 2 is that it's just on retreat. So you'd have 7 weekends on retreat, and these are spaced about every 2 to 3 months. So they're sort of slightly further apart, but because they're quite intensive when we do them, I think you need that space in between to be able to absorb it and take it into your own practice. So the reason that I have included retreats on both course options is not only to help really absorb the practice, but these are also open to the public. So you get to see how well this style of yoga works for every different body that would arrive, and how easy it is to give people confidence to practice yoga in a way that suits them. The course fees for both of them cover all your accommodation and food and teaching whilst you're on retreat. It doesn't pay for lunches on the Sundays, but everything else is included. So the next one hopefully kind of clears how sort of the 2 sessions work. So as you can see, sort of September, option 1, it will be on retreat, and we will both options will do the same module, which is growth rings. I've named all the modules after tree items because of the Rocci tree. Then the guys who are doing just option 1, October, November, your Sunday sessions, your 6 Sunday sessions will cover the earth module. January will be on retreat again. February, March, it will be in the studio. And then obviously, can you see the blue dot? The next course that starts on option 1 will start in September 2021, and they'll do their modules, say the same, but they'll do their retreats. So it'll be a different set of modules on retreats. So as I say, I've worked out all the dates up until I think it's September 2023. So I've got kind of 3 sets of option 1 dates sorted out, and I've got 2 lots of option 2 dates sorted out. Does that make sense, or is that really confusing? Can you guys hear me? Yeah, cool. Did that make sense? Yeah, cool. I say you're more than welcome to ask more questions. And again, it will probably depend on which course you're interested in. You probably don't need to know about both courses. It's just to explain what the difference is between the courses, so you have more idea of which one would suit you better. Fab, I'll go back to sharing my screen now. So, cool. That page that we snuck onto earlier. I'm just going to move you guys again. Fab. So, whichever way you decide to train, you will get 180 hours worth of teaching with me as a senior yoga teacher trainer. Now, some of the courses, Yoga Alliance professionals who we're accredited with, actually their rules say that we only have to teach 148 hours with a senior yoga teacher. So some courses out there, you'll only get 148 hours with a senior teacher, and then the rest of the time will be filled with more junior teachers. But because I am the only teacher on this course, you will get 180 hours worth of teaching with me. So you'll build up a great knowledge base of poses, adjustments, alternatives. So Iyengar, who I did my original training with, is well known for his adjustments, physical adjustments mainly, and a lot of teachers that I come across always ask if it's okay to do physical adjustments, and we will go through that whole process. Scaravelli, who I've done other training with, is well known for her ability to be able to offer adjustments, alternatives. So we're going to have a little practical session right at the end, and I will show you kind of how easy it is to be able to adjust for different people. Oh, sorry, I've just somebody's just sent me a message, but I can't see it now. I'll have a look in a minute. The idea is also, from the course that I did, the only taught anybody was from my final exam. There was no other teacher training, other teaching practice apart from my final exam. And I think that's just crazy, because 90% of your work is going to be teaching. So every module, and on most days of the module, you will practice teaching, and it will be just in our group. So it won't be teaching to the general public. It will just be practicing finding your own voice and finding kind of your script of how you're going to teach. And I think that's really beneficial to have that confidence to be able to hear your voice and hear how that sounds and get feedback from it. So there will be quite a lot of teaching practice. The only time you will teach the public is for your final assessment. And that's when you will be asked to teach half an hour. And that half an hour could be filled with a pranayama practice, a breathing practice. It could be a meditation practice. It could be poses. It's a half hour for you to fill with something that you want to share with other people. So we have the lovely Helen Coleman, who is a qualified anatomy and physiology teacher. She will come in on the modules that we're doing anatomy, and she will chat through anatomy, because as much as I love anatomy, I cannot teach it. So rather than try, I've got in an expert instead. So she'll come in and do the anatomy and physiology training. With each module, there'll be at least 2 talks that I will be doing. And these are anything from the history of yoga, to chakras, to hormones, to the business of being a yoga teacher. So hopefully I kind of cover a range of different subjects. Yeah, and the idea of these is just to spark something that you might want to go and look in deeper into. I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. Stop share. Hi, I'm back again. Cool, I can read that chat now. Cool. Okay, I can chat you through the options in a minute about the retreats and stuff. So, yes, one of my aims for the course is that each teacher can follow a different path but still be a wonderful leader. So you won't all finish the course like one size fits all. You won't all finish teaching it in one particular style. The way you learn poses means that you can slow them down and teach a restorative class, or you can speed them up and teach a flow class, which makes you much more adaptable, which means that when you start teaching, you can offer a wide range of styles and make yourself more appealing to your different clientele, whether that be, you know, the general public for a class, or whether it be a yoga studio owner. What I find as a yoga studio owner, I get a lot of people who can teach Ashtanga and flow yoga or vinyasa. I don't get a lot of people who can teach hatha. I don't get a lot of people who can teach restorative. A lot of courses as sort of these kind of, everybody just gets sent out knowing the same sequences, knowing the same sort of, and they don't have that flexibility. So the idea is that, as I say, you will learn those poses and learn how to teach them, and then you can easily fit them together to speed them up to a flow class, or you can easily slow them down and turn it into a restorative class. So therefore, you will go out and be able to sort of sell yourself a bit easier. And therefore, again, from a studio owner's point of view, I can employ you for doing 2 classes a week because you can do 1 restorative and 1 flow class, rather than just employing you as 1 class because, you know, I have 5 vinyasa flow teachers already. So when I started my training with Ruth White, I used to say that I would only let fit and healthy people into my classes. However, after spending 3 hours with books galore and computers on to do my first class plan, which was an hour-and-a-half yoga class, I opened the door and there was an older lady approaching. And as she walked into the main room of the, we were at the Friends Meeting House at the time, she started listing off all her ailments and issues. And yeah, I'd spent all this time on this 3-hour class plan and literally had to go, right, that's going out the window. I can't teach this class. And now I look around my classes and particular classes, I don't have a single fully fit and healthy person in my class, because the yoga that I teach is so adaptable that it is so easy to be able to have people with different issues and ailments in the classes. So when I was thinking about creating this teacher training course, I came up with the idea, it's not a new idea, but to help with class planning, your homework will be to create your own yoga cards. So you've probably all seen these packs of yoga cards that you can buy that have the different information on. Well, this is your homework. So we don't have essays to write because I don't do essays. I've had my homework to do for my Well Woman teaching training for about 1.5 years and still haven't done my essays for it because it's not the sort of thing that I'm dyslexic, so sort of the writing down of things. And also for me, yoga is practical, it's physical. So I would much prefer to spend the time on those things than on long essays. If you would like to write me an essay, I'm only too happy to hear it. But the idea is to create your own yoga card. So I'm going to start sharing again. So Mary, I realized when I was looking through this yesterday, I haven't got any of your yoga cards as an example. I am very sorry. The picture I have It's shocking, I know. So the picture I have, I think, is of Louisa and Natalie's. So Mary and Helen did much smaller versions, so they were kind of pack of card size. But this is, you can do this in any form that you want to do. So if you wanted to video yourself doing a pose and talking through the poses, then that's fine. But for me, I'll show you the next one because I'll show you my versions as well. So these will be part of your modules, part of your manual. So each module, you will receive the manual for that module, and they will include these yoga cards, but include lots of other things, class plans and all of that kind of stuff as well. And so eventually over your 7 modules, you will build up a full manual, but just to do it again in little bite sizes, you'll get one for each module. So you'll get sort of the anatomy of it. And then the idea of the yoga cards is you get, and the training, you get to learn how to teach it, what the alternatives are, what props you can use to make it easier for people, and also just different variations. So on the retreats, what we'll do is before every class that we do, we have half an hour that we spend just as the teachers on one pose. So, you know, half an hour before a class, we will spend half an hour breaking down, say, downward facing dog. We'll work out all the adjustments, all the alternatives, and why you would do it and why you wouldn't do it. Because as I say, everybody comes into class with different issues, and to be able to have in your mind really quickly, okay, this person has high blood pressure issues, so shouldn't necessarily be doing downward facing dog. What alternative can I give them? And these yoga cards, as I say, the girls who were on the course last time had it all on one page. So to class plan, you just grab your yoga cards and you kind of go, right, well, I want to do downward facing dog, so I can put that in there. And you build up your sequence with your cards, and you can take a photo of that, or you can just write it down. But if you have, say, that lady that I had, this lady Anne, come in, and suddenly you can't do something with wrists, then you'll know what alternatives you can put in. So we learn where in a sequence they would work best, and also what you would use to prepare for those poses. So say if we were doing pigeon pose, you would want to do some hip warm-ups before you did it. So we work through what would be useful to build up and what would be useful to cool down from it. And that then helps you really build easily class plan, rather than doing the 3 hours that I spent that first time trying to figure it all out. You've got those on your yoga cards straight away, and you know that you can put your yoga cards out and know that you can do a class plan quite easily. Yes, so on the course, we aim to cover the how, why, where, when and where of over 30 classical yoga poses. Obviously, with each of those classical yoga poses, you will learn the alternatives. So each pose, you will also learn another 3 that are connected to it. So you have a basis of at least 30 poses, but you have the warm-ups, the cool-downs, so all of those as well. So since that first class with Anne, I have learned so much about how easy it is to adapt and change the postures so that everyone in my class is safe, but also that they feel supported and able to practice in a way that suits their body and mind that day. I've called this style of yoga metta yoga. Metta translates as benevolence, kindness, friendliness, enmity, goodwill, and active interest. So for me, metta really explains the style of yoga that I try and share and teach. So yes, I've spent years learning and being taught by students how to offer a very similar experience, but that can look completely different. And yeah, this is all of this sort of being able to work with everybody that will turn up in your class. So I thought the easiest way to explain these is to have a play with it. So if you've not got space, if you aren't dressed in appropriate clothing, then that's fine. You can just watch, and hopefully it will make sense that way as well. But if you fancy it, if you've got a little bit of space, all you need is enough for your length of your legs and the length of your arms. So I'm just gonna, I think I'm gonna just move my mat back a little bit, otherwise I'm gonna be massive. So we are going to come on to all fours to start with. Good. So we're just going to come into our very classic downward facing dog. The way I teach downward facing dog can be quite different because, again, a lot of people throw this into the middle of a flow and don't necessarily have the time to teach it. But we're going to come onto all fours. You're going to tuck your toes under and you're going to place your hands on the mat. But I want you to really softly place those hands. So it's not you pushing into those hands. You're gently releasing those hands onto the mat. The shoulders are soft, the elbows are bent. And then you press into the feet, press into the thighs, and you gently lift the hips up. So this is when we come into our classic sort of very recognizable downward facing dog. So if somebody came in, like my lady Anne came in and she has wrist problems, then this really wouldn't suit her. So straight away, we're kind of with a very classical pose, we're struggling to be able to get our lady into it. So what you could do is you could drop the knees down towards the mat and you could put forearms down. So hip-wise and spine-wise, I've got exactly the same pose as downward facing dog, but I've now not got any pressure on my wrist. So that is a really easy alternative. If my lady couldn't put weight on her knees and her wrists, then you turn it in to Dandasana. So this shape that I'm making is exactly the same as this shape I'm making. I've just turned it on its head. So you could then come into your Dandasana. And if you imagine that you were downward facing dog here, you would think about pushing the heels of the feet away as you do in downward facing dog. You press the heels of the feet towards the mat. You press the hands up towards the ceiling. So you have, again, the same feeling of downward facing dog, but you've just given them a different option of being able to do it. The best version, turning it into a strong pose, into a lovely restorative pose. I'm still in downward facing dog. I've just changed it up completely. So this would be a restorative version of downward facing dog. So I thought if you have the space, if you are able to, we would do a lovely meditation. If you can come into a comfortable position, whatever it means. So if you've not got the space to be able to do legs up the wall or legs on a sofa, then if you can come to a lying down position, that would be great. If you still don't have the space for that, then stay exactly where you are. And you just close your eyes where you are. So yes, if it's okay by you, we'll just finish with a little meditation which is called the metta meditation. It's the loving kindness meditation. And then after that, then we'll be open to questions. So wherever you've ended up, gently close your eyes and just take a couple of breaths. If possible, breathing in through your nose. And then slowly out through the mouth. Try to remember a time when you felt deeply accepted, loved, and appreciated for who you are. If it's helpful, remember who made you feel that way and the events around it. If you can't think of a specific example, imagine how it would feel. Create an image in your mind as if it's a film and experience those feelings. Once you have kindled those feelings, move your focus to it. Leave behind the details of the memory or image and just become aware of the feeling. How does it feel in your body, mind, and heart? Take it as the object of your concentration. Keep feeding it, reproducing it, increasing it. If thoughts distract you, recognize that and return to the feeling. When the feeling is stable, project it towards yourself or towards another person or towards the whole planet. It can be helpful to visualize the person you are projecting it to, even if it's to yourself. And then with feeling and intention, repeat to yourself, may you be happy. May you be safe. May you be at peace. And then slowly bring your attention back to your breathing. And just observe it for a moment or two. And then become aware of your whole body and its contact with whatever supports you. And unhurriedly find a way to bring yourself slightly more awake and aware. Maybe moving the fingers, maybe moving the toes, maybe having a lovely big stretch and a yawn. If you are lying down, just gently bring the knees to the chest, slowly rocking from side to side. And then gently rolling to one side before coming up to sitting. So thank you so much for joining me this morning. So I'll unmute you guys now, so you can ask questions, or so you can send me a message or anything like that. So, oh no, I haven't done it. No, I'm having to ask you all to unmute. I can't unmute you all for some reason.
It says you have.
Oh, how bizarre. Cool. So Alice, was it you who asked the question about, yeah, you need to be in school on Monday morning. So the September retreat, the reason, again, I've done it till Monday morning is just because of the distance. So if you needed to leave on Sunday evening to be back home, that would be absolutely fine. Time-wise, you would still be able to fit in all the time you needed to complete the 200 hours.
Okay.
But as I say, it's just because it's a 2.5-hour journey, so you don't have to rush home if you don't need to. So yeah, but all the other ones will be finished at 5 o'clock on the Sunday, so you can be home. And I'm trying to, my aim is that most of the retreats will be sort of an hour and a half away. It's just, this is such an amazing, beautiful venue that, and I've always wanted to do a retreat there. So yes, so that's why this one is kind of slightly further away. But as I say, it's also why I've booked it from the Thursday evening to the Monday morning, just so you have that freedom if you needed to. But yeah, Monday morning we'll sort of wake up, we'll do a stretch and a breathe, we'll have breakfast, and then we'll be going home. So it won't, time-wise, it won't make too much difference.
Good to know. Thank you.
No worries. Any other questions? Did that all make sense?
Could I have a breakdown of the cost of option 1, please?
Yes. Let me go back to the screen share. So that one. So the complete price is £3,575. If you pay in full, you receive a 10% discount.
Yeah.
If you want to pay in instalments, then it's 10 instalments of £325. So that's monthly pay, and I'd need a deposit of £325. But as I say, that includes 3 retreats as well.
So you wouldn't pay extra for the going to the retreat, staying there, etc.
So you have to travel there yourself, but obviously I am traveling there. So if you don't have your own transport, then you can jump in with me and I can give you a lift. That would be no problem, and I can give you a lift back again. And obviously other people will be coming and traveling as well. So we should be able to arrange sort of lift shares if need be. So yeah, no extras for any of the retreats, but on the Sunday sessions, you would have to sort of supply your own. I will have sort of fruit and tea and coffee here, but we won't necessarily be stopping for lunch on that day. We'll kind of try and work straight through just to get the hours in, because it's quite tight to try and fit these 180 hours into a teacher training course. So, and we have, because the hall is a shared hall, it's still a community hall, another group comes in at 2 o'clock. So we kind of can't go over. So if we were to have a break, then we wouldn't have that choice of being able to come over.
Okay, yeah, lovely. Just quickly as well, if you haven't done a lot of yoga, just basically I've just started last few months really, just doing it online, would that be enough experience to do the course?
I think because it's spread over so long, then I think it would be okay. I think if it was such an intensive, I don't think it would be. But I would definitely recommend a weekly class to attend alongside the course, whether that's with us or whether that's with another teacher. Then yes, I would definitely recommend sort of, keeping up a weekly practice, because again, especially if you're doing the option 2 that's in between retreats, there are a couple of months between. So just to keep that practice and just keep learning about yoga yourself. As I say, I've been doing it since 18, but nearly every time I come on my mat, I'm like, oh, I haven't done that before, or I haven't felt that before. So it's like a constant thing. And that's what I really love about yoga, is there's never a point. Sally Ann knows how many books I have and how many books I still want to buy. That there's never seems to be a point that I can think I know all of this. There's always something else to learn, and that's what I love. I mean, over lockdown, a lot of people have gone, oh well, I'm on furlough, I can't do anything. I'm bored. Whereas I'm like, hey, wait, how many books can I get through? What can I learn? What can I read up on? So, for me, that's an amazing thing. Whichever way you take it, you can go spiritually, you can go practically. There's so many different ways of being able to sort of share it, which again is why these talks are just kind of a glimpse of things that you could go and learn further, that you can then bring into your own teaching.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Cool. Any other questions?
Yes. Sorry. Did you say that because that's obviously something that's going to start this September, but you've got it planned to carry on for September 21?
Yeah. So that basically the courses will be ongoing.
Okay.
So if some of the dates don't suit you, so if you can't make one of the retreats, what you could do is next time we do that retreat with that module, you can do it then. So again, lots of places do charge you extra for sort of having to go over, but because we'll be running those anyway, you can move it over to the next one. If it's a Sunday session that you can't make, then what we would do is we would make it up with a one-to-one.
Okay.
So there are plenty of options, because again, I know what life's like. It doesn't give you one weekend a month. So we've got that flexibility to be able to work different ways. And again, if it's more than 1 or 2 Sundays in one module, then what you would do is you would wait until next year and repeat that module in that year instead.
Because I'm thinking of that yoga teacher training, but I don't know if I'm ready yet for it. Whereas if I spend the next year being ready for September 21, I think that's something I'd like to have in mind. Well, it took me 5 years to decide to become a teacher, to go for it. So.
So you've got half of the sort of standing in front of people.
Yeah, I suppose,
sorted.
Yeah.
So,
but it's more that I think I don't know. It's more as a person. I don't know if I'm ready yet to do yoga teacher training, but I'd like to. Yeah, it's something I would like to do.
Yeah.
Just feel like I need to grow a bit more into. I don't know. Personally, I guess.
Yeah. Well, as I say, you can either wait until sort of next September, or as I say, because it is quite sort of spaced, then maybe that gives you that space that you need as well to be able to grow as a person, and it might be the thing that kind of just gets that started, maybe.
Yes. Well, yeah. And then option 1 is a mix of retreats, and so 6 Sunday sessions. And how many retreats? So there's one in September.
So the retreats are September, January,
April, I guess.
April, I think, and then July.
Okay. Right.
And July is the one that you complete in. That will be the final one that you do.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
No worries. Sally Ann, did you have something to? Oh, you're still muted, darling. Are you still muted?
Got it. July at work is really, really busy. So there's that issue. And also, as you know, sometimes I get ill. So
cool. Okay, so I've got your question now, Sally Ann. Is that the same one that you're trying to?
yeah. So there's the question that I asked on the chat, and there's also the issue of the July retreat, which may or may not be possible.
I'm back again. Sorry. Hello. I disappeared for a minute there. We love technology. Sorry, Sally Ann, start again.
So there was the chat, and then, can you hear me?
I can, yes.
And then July is very busy at work.
Right.
So that may be difficult or may not be.
Yes. So again, what you could do is you could then do the module that we're doing in July. You could join for the September one, the next course, and do that on a Sunday in October, November. Basically, as long as you complete all 7 modules, my aim is that you do it in that year, but you know, there is the flexibility. And again, that's what works really well for me, because we were supposed to do our teacher training in 2 years, and I took 5 years because I had 2 babies when I started my teacher training. So because the modules are like a completely contained unit, that if you miss one, it doesn't make a difference. It's not that it will sort of flow through them. One module is, you know, we concentrate on, say, feet and ankles, and the next module will concentrate on arms and hands. So as long as you've completed all 7 modules, then you can complete the course.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
So I've got one very quick one.
Yep.
So once you've done all the training, is there like ongoing training in terms of, you know, you're not going to know all the modules really well. So if you're struggling with one, could you have like a top-up training on top, or?
Yeah, I mean, this is possibly more for, maybe Mary can jump in here, to how kind of well you felt the modules, how well covered you felt that you were with each module, whether, whether there was any sort of things that weren't covered maybe.
Well, Rocky's very good at answering questions anyway. If you get stuck on anything, then she's really good at helping you out if you need to. And I don't think there was anywhere I came away going, oh my goodness, I have no idea. But there's definitely areas that I've wanted to read more on, like and Rocci like gives you loads of ideas for books. As she said, she's obsessed with books, so you can further your knowledge that way. But I did, but by the end of the training, I was sort of more thrown in the deep end than I realised, with the whole lockdown thing happening and going into teaching on Zoom. And the best way I learned was just to do some teaching, which I wasn't quite expecting to do quite so soon. But I think it sort of depends what you want to get out of it and where you're going with it, really. But the other thing that Rocci said is we're always learning the whole time as well, aren't we? So I think just sort of listening in on things, if there's the option to do, is always a good idea anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely sort of go with that. There's, I still nowadays think, oh, there's a gap in my training, I want to go. But, if there's anything specific, then I get, we can arrange a one-to-one, and we can spend sort of 2 hours just concentrating on that one thing that you want to really sort of nail. Sorry,
no, the other thing I just thought of as well, we, those of us that were doing the training had a WhatsApp group as well, and we chatted to each other quite, it's like we were doing our yoga card for that week, because our training was slightly different. We were doing weekly sessions to start with, and it was like, oh, in this one, what did everybody think about that? And it was really good that we all asked each other, and there's an amazing amount of information on the internet as well, obviously. But recommending websites to each other and all that kind of stuff really helped.
Yeah, and I think that's again where the yoga cards do come in, because we'll go through it in class, and then you'll go away and you'll create 5 yoga cards, and we do. There is a book list, but the other book that I would really recommend is it's colouring in anatomy, yoga anatomy colouring in book, which is really good as well. But you kind of take away what you've learned in class, and then you start to put your yoga cards together, and if any questions come up from those yoga cards, then you just get in contact on the WhatsApp group, or you email me, or you phone me. One of the ladies who's still on the course, so she'll be joining for the first couple of modules when we start. I'm still on the phone to her sort of once a week, even throughout lockdown, because she's asking questions and stuff. I'm more than happy to answer anything, or you write it down and you bring it to the next class and we can practically go through it. Because again, if one person doesn't understand it, the likelihood is there is somebody else out there who's not understanding it, and my job is to find a way to get you all to be able to understand it. So, I'm more than happy for you to just go, can we go through this again? Because I wasn't quite sure about it.
Yeah, I think it's more about, obviously, we're not all going to be good at everything. So it's more about trying to find that balance where,
it's going to be no more than 10 minutes.
Sorry, Jo, go on.
Sorry, it was just, trying to focus, or trying to find a pose where you're not really good at, and trying to see how you can better that.
Yeah. Well, and again, that's, I've gone dark. Suddenly, I think the rain clouds must be coming in. Again, because although we look at those 30 poses, because we look at what other options there are. And I think actually from being a student point of view, when I go to my yoga class, when my teacher says, oh, I can't do this as well as other people because I've got tight hamstrings or I've got tight shoulders, I think that actually really helps other people in class to think, oh, they can't do everything. And as I say, the fact that our bodies are all completely different. We all have different jobs that we do. We all have different incidences that we've had in our lives. We all, to be able to be kind to yourself and say, this isn't a version that suits me, but that doesn't mean I can't teach it. I cannot do crow pose to save my life. I've been trying since I was 18 years old. It is my nemesis pose, but it doesn't mean I can't teach it.
Okay.
So it's again, and the more you get that practice of teaching, between each other, then I think you learn from that as well, because I can remember one of my first classes that I taught. I was talking away, and I think I was in the pose, and I was obviously facing the other direction and talking away, and then I turned around and was like, you lot, no, that wasn't the pose that I was thinking that I was getting you all into. And I think finding those words and finding how to explain that also helps you learn the poses for yourself, because you're like, well, what am I doing here? How do I explain that to somebody else rather than just doing the pose? So I think, and I think that's possibly that's the point between becoming a yoga student and becoming a yoga teacher, is actually starting to think, well, how would I explain what I'm doing? So you also feel it, but then you're like, well, how do I say that this is what I would like you to do? And that helps you learn those. Yeah. Does that help, Jo?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that.
No, right.
I've got a couple of questions. The first one is around about the dates. I'm assuming you're going to try and keep well away from kids' holidays and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So you said July, but it's going to be the first 2 weeks in July rather than, And the September one, what's the start date for the September one?
That's it. Well, the Thursday is the 17th of September, and the Monday is the 21st.
Okay, sorry, I thought I might have seen that, but when you were going through some of the dates, my internet just went a bit funny, I think.
Yeah, I just put September.
All right.
I didn't actually put the dates, but I've got all the dates, so I can share those with you. Just send us an email, or I'll try and include it when we send you the video of this session. I'll try and include that with it, so you've got all of those dates as well.
Yeah, cool.
But yes.
And my other question was, do you? I mean, you talked about the business of yoga, you know, running your own business essentially. I suppose my question is around, you know, can you take us through insurance and all of those kind of things that?
Yeah. So for option one, or for whichever option you do, the saplings module is all about creating your own business. So your homework for that one is you create your logo, and we talk through, as you say, insurance, GDPR, all of that kind of, you know, tax, as much as I can I'm not obviously a tax accountant, but I can tell you what I've been through. I was thinking I might see if I can get an accountant to come to that and just give you a quick chat. But also things that you need to look out for in venues. So when you're looking for your own venue, what you need to look out for, because again, people don't necessarily talk you through that. I can remember I asked Ruth for a business talk, and she literally said to me, as long as there's more money coming in than going out, you're doing okay. And I was like, that doesn't help me set up my own business, but thanks. So I know that it's for me, it's really important that you guys have that information. So we have marketing as well. And yeah, as I say, you start thinking about your branding by starting to create your own logo and the name for yourself, because again, the name can be really important. So for option one, that is your last module. So you'll do that as your last thing, and that will sort of hopefully kind of set you up ready to go. If you do option two, it's halfway through, but again, you can be starting to think about that. So when you complete in 4 retreats time, you have your logo, you have your marketing, you have all your books already set up, you've got in touch with everybody that you need to get in touch with. Yoga Alliance professionals, I can't remember the deal, Mary, you get membership for Yoga Alliance professionals, don't you? Do you get insurance, right? Or they just recommend
you can
insurance?
get trainers insurance with them.
Frozen again.
Yeah, when we joined up, we've got like a special login thing when you put us on the course. Oh, you've frozen. I don't know if I've frozen or you've frozen.
No, I can hear you.
You can still hear me.
Yeah.
Can't hear Rocky anymore. Rocky's doing a rather good freeze for us. But they're on the Yoga Alliance professionals login that we got. There's loads of information and stuff. It's really, really good to have a look through. I haven't read through it all, to be perfectly honest with you, but there's loads on there to look at. And I think you can get in touch with other teacher trainers and things as well on there. It's quite good. Oh, looks like she's back.
Yes, I froze. You sounded to me like you were doing everything in slow motion.
I was.
I thought it might be. Sorry.
I think everyone else managed to hear what I was saying.
I've just got one question for Mary.
Mm-hmm.
How many hours, approximately ballpark, did each unit take of your own time?
It's slightly difficult to calculate that because the structure of our training was completely different. But like doing the yoga cards, do you mean like how long and the like individual study and that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
I think it, in a way, they took longer than I anticipated, but that was the way I chose to do them in a way, because I got the books out, I got the pages on the internet, I looked at everything all at once, and then you're like, oh my God, where do I start? But then as soon as you've got like a template for that first card, which I think probably encourages you to do right at the beginning, or that's your first bit, then it becomes easier and you can work through. And so the time that each one took, you knew what information you were looking for. a bit more so, or you knew what to note down when you were doing it in the session. But generally it was nice just to sort of break it down a bit. But hours wise,
I think because they are individual, it's up to you, really.
Yeah, true.
You could literally just do downward facing dog with a triangle on it and go, right, that's my yoga card. The rest of the information is in my head. If you want to go into all the detail of, you know, what muscles you use, what joints you're using, what happens to your nervous system, what happens to your endocrine system, you could make them last ages.
Yeah, you could do like a couple of hours a night if you were going to do it like that. Oh no, is Rocci frozen again for everyone?
Yes.
Ah, Rocci, I don't know if I'm in slow-mo, but you've frozen again. Shall I tell her on the chat?
Yes.
Oh, she'll probably turn up before I sent it. Oh, there you go. So you're frozen again.
What's happening? I've been teaching classes here for 5 months, and I have never had this much issue with our internet. Sorry. Yeah, I've never been even blocked out. Once I got blocked out in 4 months, and now it's happened about 10 times in one meeting. So I'm very sorry about this. Did you hear me about the yoga cards, Sally Ann? About
Yes.
Yeah, you can make them as long as or as short as you want. So it depends on how much time you have.
Yeah, and I think for me it sort of boiled down to like a couple of hours a week, really.
Okay.
Sometimes I'd spend longer, sometimes I'd spend a lot less, depending on how many yoga cards I'd got to do as well, because sometimes we'd only have a few and sometimes we'd have a lot. So it'll be easier because you've got it set out in modules to spread your time out to do them, I suppose, for you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so there's 5 yoga cards each module. So it's not hopefully not ridiculous. But as Mary says, once you've got that template done, then you can kind of, and also what Mary and those guys didn't have is the manual. So you will have my versions of those yoga cards.
Mm-hmm.
You can.
Sneaky, that's just sneaky.
So I've just halved your homework time, basically.
What? By the way, my yoga cards were in that picture.
Oh, were they? Cool.
Yeah, you hadn't got Helen's.
Ah, okay, lovely. Yes, Lucy.
So if you say you'd gone to retreat in September, how long would you kind of expect for us to kind of get the cards done after? Or are you all done on retreat?
They're until the next module starts. So if we're on retreat in September, the next time I see you, I will collect in your yoga card. So if you're doing option 1 and you're in the studio, I will collect them in October. If you're not on retreat again until January, you have got until January to do them. So yeah, so it's not like you've only got a week to do them or anything like that. And again, the idea is that they're useful for you. So, you know, if you're not finding them useful, then we'll find something else that you do find useful to help. You know, the idea is that you build them up so you can then class plan. If that's not something that, you know, if you want to do vinyasa and you know you've got your, you know, the same class plan every time, then we can find a different form.
And will you get an idea of how you're doing as you go along? Like, is it sort of, I'm guessing you get feedback as you go along rather than sort of waiting until the end to realise that you're doing okay. Kind of thing.
I think Rocky's frozen again. We did, Lucy. We got feedback each time we did a bit of teaching practice, or she'd just let us know or give us a sheet with some notes on or something like that.
Yeah, cool. Great, thank you.
Are you back?
I am. Thank you, Mary. I'm so glad you're here because, yes, as soon as I come out of it and go back into it, I'm fine.
How weird.
It just keeps on kicking me out every 2 minutes. Maybe it's, yes, we've gone over time. Maybe that's what it is. Is there any further questions? Because yes.
Once you completed the teacher training, do you get an accreditation?
So you get a 200-hour yoga teacher training certificate, which is accredited by Yoga Alliance Professionals, which is the UK-based Yoga Alliance. So there is an American version. The American version really isn't as strict as the British one. I think you can become a teacher trainer after doing like 1,000 hours of teaching, whereas we have to do 6,000 hours before we become a senior teacher trainer. So yeah. So you'll become accredited. The course is accredited with Yoga Alliance Professionals, and you will automatically be offered a membership with them straight away, and you can get your insurance and stuff via them. But yeah, you get an accredited certificate.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Is that expensive?
No, that's all free. The insurance, I think. Probably best not to give a figure. I've got Mary again. You might be able to remember. Or
yeah, mine's up for renewal, but my insurance also includes Reiki and my Tatty Bumpkin stuff as well. I think it's somewhere in the region of £60 a year.
Yeah, that sounds about. Yeah, sounds about
something
right.
like that. But you don't have to use Yoga Alliance because I already had insurance. I just phoned my insurance company up and added on my 200-hour accreditation onto it, and all they asked me was, where did you do your training? And I said, at the Rocci Tree. And they're like, oh, it's a new one. That was very exciting. And yeah, you're good to go basically. So I'm now going to be in the position exactly the same as like your car insurance or whatever of phoning up and just having a quick look to see where the cheapest one is. Hooray!
Lovely. Anything else before I disappear again? Get stuck.
No.
You have to do it quickly. As I say, I am. Sorry, Lucy, go.
If you're physically not able to, like we say about if you're not physically not able to, but if you were unwell or I'm due to have an operation at some point, if you went on retreat and the retreat fell in the time that you couldn't do the practical side, can you still do it basically? Or you kind of need to wait till you can physically take part? I mean, obviously you'd want to, but because I don't know when it's going to be.
I don't know. I think it would probably depend on what was stopping you do it, because obviously it is a very practical subject. But again, if it was, say, an operation on your wrist, then it would be a great learning curve to figure out how you do all these poses without using your wrist, or so it would depend on kind of what would be your limitations. Obviously, if it's sort of deep abdominal surgery, then that would be, you would definitely have bed rest and you wouldn't be practicing anything. So yeah, we can have a chat through that. And again, if need be, you would miss that module and just redo it at a later stage.
Yeah, I'd rather do it, but anyway, but it's just in case it fell the early time kind of it was on or something, then yeah, nice to know. Yeah,
well, definitely. I mean, now we're more used to being online, things like the talks and things like that, I am aiming to record. So I've got a record of them because I think they could be useful to have in our sort of archive. So we can definitely send you bits of it, but I think, yeah, but then, yeah, as I say, it depends. We'd have to chat that one through because it could be something that you could just come and watch and that might be enough for you to be able to, but certain modules it might not work with. So I think it would depend on what the issue was and what module we were doing. Lovely. So I am available. So if you want to either, I know some of you got in contact with me via Facebook, so you're more than welcome to send me a message on Facebook, or you've got the admin at therockytree.co.uk email address, and Carol, who is our studio manager, will pass any email that comes through there on to me. we will send you out the recording of this so you have it, so all of those slides and stuff you can look at in a bit more detail. But please do come back to me with any questions and any feedback at all from this session. You know, if there's stuff that you wanted me to cover that I haven't, you know, again, just let me know, because this is the first time I've done it. So I'm learning from this, and the only way I learn is by you guys telling me. So yes, do give me feedback if you are happy to. And I look forward to hopefully seeing some of you in the future. Okay, take care.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Bye.
much.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.